Hello, welcome to the May episode of Here's the Stitch. How's it May? And how is May practically over? For those of you who may not be familiar, I was actually on the road from May 1st until May 12th. So I was back in the office on Monday, and Dax and I did a nice little download of what I was up to for those 12 days and what they had been up to for those 12 days. And then today I started off by cleaning the office, and then I am catching up only to leave on vacation next week. So, a much earned vacation. So yeah, got several things to show you today. And then I recorded an interview with Jill, who is the designer of Knitsitsu. She is also the designer of the Marled Me sweater that we launched on May 2nd. Kits for that are on the website. And yeah, we got a lot of compliments on that sweater on the road. So I think you guys are going to really love it. And then on the third segment of the podcast this month, Brian recorded a bunch of video for us at the H&H show, the wholesale show that we were at in Chicago. So those of you who have attended a retail fiber festival in the past, we'll get a little sneak peek at what it's like for yarn store owners and wholesalers to come shop yarn from vendors. So I was in the booth most of the time, so there were lots of things in the video that Brian was able to capture that I didn't even get to see. So I hope you enjoyed that little sneak peek behind the curtain at H&H. And I think that's really it. I do have a lot to show you. So the first thing I have is I finished my sheep camp sweater. I left for Maryland on the 1st, and I finished the sweater on April 30th. Finished it on the 30th. Turbo blocked it overnight. Thank you, Yarn Drying Room, that can also dry sweaters quickly. And left myself a sticky note on the back door telling me to grab the sweater out of the drying room. And yeah, so this is my sheep camp sweater. It is out of Queen City Yarn Lada in the Dugong colorway. This was a special colorway for the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway. And then the colorwork at the top is from Cream City Yarn's Spin Cycle color called Cream on Top. I really like it. I did wear it for a short period of time at Maryland Sheep and Wool on Saturday. It was approximately 8 billion degrees out, so I did change out of it pretty quickly. You may remember that I'm assuming I talked about this. I did my sleeves 2 at a time. It's a technique I had never done before, but I did this so no matter how long I got or how far I got, I would have matching sleeves. And it worked out perfectly. I will need to rip these sleeves back. They are a little tight here at the end. And then I will also probably make them full length sleeves. This is a sweater that I would wear a lot in the winter. And 3/4 length sleeves aren't really my winter jam. But it was beautiful at Maryland Sheep and Wool. And if you go to the Queen City Yarn Instagram page, you can see our whole group. What we did for our knit along this year was we all used Dugong. So everybody's project is out of Dugong in either Coleman, Ada, or Bernice. And yeah, it was a fun knit along. I hope we continue to do knit alongs that way. Maybe I won't bite off a sweater next time. So that is my only finished object. There is nothing new and exciting here in knitting. I did, however, finish the first sock for Mark's Christmas socks and cast on the second one. I should have gotten more knitting on this done than I did, but I didn't. I was so exhausted on the trip. I did knit while I was at Maryland Sheep and Wool, but when I left Maryland on Monday, I did not knit again a single stitch until Saturday morning. And that knitting was on something I can't show you. Making some swatches for a secret project that you will know about May 23rd. So I also worked a little bit on my peach fuzz sweater. This I am making out of loop yarn. And I'm glad I tried it on because I still had one more decrease to do on the sleeves, and the decreases are like not short repeats. So yeah, I tried it on. I was like, okay, we can put some ribbing on that. So, and then I did pick up the other sleeve and get started on that. So I did work on this while we were all together for Maryland Sheep and Wool. So I worked on this and the sock for more kind of social knitting. But that's it. My knitting right now is so incredibly boring. I definitely want to finish the sweater. This sweater I had started, I don't even know when, put it into hibernation and then pulled it back out. Something I did back in October was I went through all of my whips and I made a list of things I wanted to finish and things I wanted to rip out. And so this was in the finish pile. But yeah, I'm just not feeling motivated. I'm not feeling motivated on anything. In fact, I'm actually slogging through these 4 swatches that I am making. So that's it for knitting content. That is all I've worked on. Yeah, not going to apologize for it. I don't get a ton of knitting time. And that's not, that's why this is only a third of the podcast. So I will share what I have and not feel guilty about it. Acquisitions. I did pick up some things. So our group is big on gifts when we all stay together. So Pam made everybody washcloths or dishcloth, and I picked the pink one. So that was a gift. Martha did kind of combination gifts. So I don't know what this thing is called, but it's for your stitch stoppers so you don't lose them. And then she also gave everybody some barber cord, try-it-on tubing, whatever you call it, kind of stuff. Our friend Carol had recently gone on a trip to Vietnam and had brought back all kinds of cool little things from Vietnam. And I picked the hand-embroidered little coin purse kind of thing because it's warm. Super cute. And then my gift to everybody was a little bag from Cottontail Farm. So Chelsea actually designed these to be as kind of like trash cans for your spinning wheel. So you could hang it on your spinning wheel and put your fluff and your scraps and whatnot in there. But it also perfectly holds a skein of sock yarn. So I had picked up one of those for everybody and apparently picked one up for myself because at the end there was one left. So that is mine. And then I got an extremely thoughtful gift from Debbie. Debbie is the person who taught me how to weave, and I have been weaving a little bit, not a lot. Again, I don't have a ton of time. I am trying really hard to get into the habit of leaving here office and going upstairs to where we live before my husband leaves for work. And that gives me time to go upstairs and do a little weaving before he gets home. My loom is in the living room and it's not exactly the best background noise while watching television. But this little gadget from Debbie is you sit it on your weaving and the magnifying glass allows you to see your picks per inch, your gauge essentially. It is one, beautiful and extremely heavy. So I thought that was a very, very thoughtful gift from Debbie and I'm excited to get that. So this will go upstairs with all of my weaving. So those were gifts. Yarn centric purchases. So we were, of course, vending at Yarn Centric this year, like we do every year for Maryland Sheep and Wool Weekend, and I dropped one. And I ended up purchasing some necklaces for everybody, or little charms for everybody that are for myself and a couple of friends. And it's a 4-letter word that starts, and it's just perfect for our little group. So those were gifts for everybody, or for the 3 of us. And then I did pick up this sock yarn from Gusto Wool. It is, or maybe it's Earth Yarns, URTH Yarns. What is the fiber content? It's dye lot number 8, color 1518. And it is hand dyed sock yarn, and it's an 80% merino, 20% nylon superwash for 440 yards. Although it does say gustowool.com. And what I found so interesting about this is it comes in 2 50-gram hanks and it fades. And my computer or my phone is really trying to show it to you. Really, really beautiful. It is more of a rustic feeling sock yarn. I wouldn't call it rough by any stretch of the imagination, but it is definitely not high micron, but excited about that. I actually think these might be Mark's next pair of socks. So that was my second purchase at Yarncentric. My third purchase at Yarncentric is a skein of Surrey silk, very similar base to our Bernice base. And this is in the colorway patina. And I bought, I think, 3 skeins of patina in fingering weight. And I wanted the Surrey to hold with it. I think I'm going to make a lento. So I actually got 3 of these, but I dropped the other one. Yeah, this color on the sock yarn does have more of this kind of patina color than you get on the Surrey. But I was super excited to get this. Every time I see Mary somewhere, I look to see if she had this in stock, and she usually doesn't. And I looked in the booth at Yarncentric, and again, she didn't have it. And I said something to, oh my gosh, her name is escaping me, Leanne, who was working in Mary's booth that day. I said something to Leanne about what I was looking for, and she was like, oh, I got a whole box. Let's see if it's in there. And there were 3. So that may get me excited to knit again. So fast forward to Marilyn Sheep and Wool. And for those of you who watched our interview with Brenna, I think it was in the interview, not with our live Here's the Stitch conversation, but she mentioned Holland Hoof Farms and their beautiful handmade buttons. Super pretty. I have always hesitated with ceramic buttons because they're usually really heavy and like kind of pull your knitting in a way that isn't so refined. And these are incredibly lightweight. Very, very lightweight. But they also feel sturdy. Like I don't feel like they're going to easily break. So yeah, pick those up. And then walking through the barns, doing our thing, sweating. It was very hot that day. And walked by Thread and Maple and registered. Ooh, Thread and Maple. And I stopped and I turned around and I walked in. I have one of their needle binders. If you have never seen one of these needle binders, I would encourage you to go check them out. They are not inexpensive, I will tell you that, but they're very much, in my opinion, worth the investment. You can also buy them in pieces. So the binder and then the pages are all individual products. So you don't necessarily have to invest all of it at the same time. And they launched crochet pages. So it is one of their standard pages. I guess I could take it out. Their craftsmanship is just phenomenal. If you've never seen this in person. And these hooks allow you to clip the page into your existing binder, and then you can take the binder out. I don't have it down here with me. Or you can take the page out and then turn it into its own little mini folio. So when I travel, I actually pull out the page and carry it just like this of my ChiaoGoo shorties. So I travel with those. So yeah, it's kind of a standard page. All of the pages are like this. And then you buy the piece to hold the actual needles based on your brand of needle. And like I said, I asked for this for Christmas. They were sold out of it. I feel like every time I go to look for it, it is sold out. So I popped in there, not expecting them to have it, and they did. So I very much brought it home and thanked Brian for a late Christmas present. So, like I said, they're expensive, or they're not inexpensive. This page, I think, was right about worth the investment, though. I will say that. Then stopped in to visit Amy of Ross Farms. I hadn't seen Amy in a really long time. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. None whatsoever. I may just hang it on the shelves here as like garland, but everything about this made my heart sing and bought it. It's a whole 5 yards, so not exactly a ton of yardage. But I do have a small loom that I could do little wall hangings with, and it may end up in there. I don't know. It may just like end up here in the office as a pretty thing to look at. And then we stopped into Feederbrook. As you know, Feederbrook Farm makes our Lottie colorway. So stopped in to see Lisa, and Lisa had a new product. It is their typical color changing yarn in chunky that I refer to as chunky. Absolutely fell in love with this. Had a hard time picking just one color, but I did. And it is colorway FP. Don't know what that means. It is 130 yards. And talking to Lisa later, it is superwash yarn. To get that girth, she is needing to use something other than their non-superwash BFL that they normally use for their yarns. And spoiler alert, at H&H, I ordered the Lottie color in chunky. So look for that at some point this fall. The goal is to have it for DFW, but we'll see if that happens. And then I picked up I picked up lots of things at H&H that I can't show you, but I picked up this little embroidery kit. Jenny is the owner of this company. Lucky Jonquill, I believe is how you pronounce it. She's actually based right here in Charlotte-ish. She's in one of the northern suburbs, and she had bought a petite skein of Lottie from me this spring to embroider up one of these little kits, and it's beautiful. So I picked up a kit to make one myself. Those are all of the acquisitions I have to show you. I did also pick up several undyed yarns to try and find some new bases. I have like 6 I'm super excited about. So we will see where that goes. And yeah, that's really all I have. So in the next segment, me and Jill, and then at the very end will be some footage from H&H. So thanks for swinging by. Hi, Jill. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I just saw you in real life for the first time in almost a year.
Yeah, a couple days ago at H&H. It was fun. It was a lot. It was busy and crazy, but very cool.
It was. I never got to hear about your 20th anniversary party with Malabrigo. Was that fun?
So much fun. They were just so lovely. It was great to meet the team, the whole family, see people face to face that I've only known over email for the last few years, and they're so generous and kind, so it was great. Yeah.
So obviously you and I know each other well. I would assume most of our podcast watchers also know you kind of on the fringe. You do a lot of designing for us. And so let's start at the beginning. Tell us about Jill.
So yeah, I currently live here in Detroit. We move around a lot, so I've seen a lot of the country. My husband's a pilot for the Coast Guard, so it takes us everywhere. Loving it up here though. Great wool, great knitting community. Highly recommend Michigan for knitters and crocheters, but that's not my jam. I've been designing Knit Sisu has been in business for 5 years now. I'm actually coming up on my 5th anniversary in 2 weeks, which, yeah, they're excited. I have a lot of things planned. Thanks. And yeah, I've been outside of Knit Sisu. I mean, I've been designing for years and years and years, and that's actually how, when I got into knitting, I learned so much through the act of just making my own stuff and figuring it out, as opposed to just following.
Was there a point where you're like, I want to start designing patterns, or did it just kind of naturally happen?
That's kind of a weird question for me, because I want to say both. So due to the fact that I was always kind of designing for myself, I also worked for a high-end designer in Boston when we lived there, and that kind of got me into my foot in the door in the industry, if you will. I was the director of education and kind of their knit expert. And we moved with the Coast Guard orders, moved from Boston to Mobile, Alabama in March of 2020. March 2nd. And so then the world shut down. And it really was my husband that was like, okay, because Knit Sisu was always on the back burner. And he's like, if you're going to start this, now's the time. Everyone's home. Everyone's on their computers. Who knows how long this hoopla is going to last? And he was right. And it's been great.
Yeah, awesome. You also do a lot of online teaching, and I'm going to assume that's because Knit Sisu really kind of exploded during the pandemic. So you had to learn how to do things online.
Yeah. Had to do things online, learn things online. And what's really funny is learn how to read knitting backwards. Because when I'm working on one-on-one stuff and someone holds it up, I'm obviously looking at the wrong side instead of the side that they're looking at. So trying to troubleshoot that way. But I'm a teacher by trade. I have my master's degree in teaching, which is brain development and learning theory. And I love to nerd out on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love doing the online stuff. Knit Sisu itself, the word is a Finnish word. My dad's family is from Finland. And it means strength and perseverance, courage, determination, but it's the quiet kind that's inside of you and just keeps you going. And a huge thing I learned working with knitters over the years is that they really want encouragement and support and feel like they are a part of this larger community. And so when I started Knit Sisu, a huge foundation was going to be supporting local yarn stores, supporting the knitters, supporting the dyers, supporting the yarn industry as much as I can, as opposed to being a designer that just puts out the design and says, okay, I'm done with it. I actually want to be very involved and as helpful as I can be so that others can get the same joy that I do out of it.
Yeah. All right. So you've done a lot of designing for us. You are actually, is that that sweater's not the first project we did together, is it?
It is. This is the Olive and Oak sweater. Yes.
So you designed that for Coleman it wasn't as we were launching Coleman. It was as we were getting ready to do the fall colors of Coleman.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I feel like shortly after. Not sure on the timeline, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was long. It was good for a long sleeve, like transition sweater.
Yeah.
And yours looks nice.
I love my Olive and Oak. I wear that all the time and I get so many compliments on it. So I hope that's a good pattern for you because it's a good pattern for us in the booth. People love it and people are excited about it.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I meant the one you're wearing. That one looks good.
Yeah? This one's new?
It's your colors.
It is my colors. So I don't remember who it was. It was somebody who knows you personally came into the booth and saw this and at H&H and saw that it was your design. And she was like, did Jill pick those colors?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, it's all kind of a blur. But
maybe she reached out to me and said the same thing. Yeah.
You did pick out these colors.
I did pick out those colors. I had a hard time because I was really drawn to the pink, and I'm not a pink person normally. Like, pink is just not one of my colors. But that one is such a vibrant, like, saturated, beautiful pink. And so it's like a grown-up pink. It's not, like a little kid pink. Yeah. And so I was trying to figure out what I would pair it with, and my other favorite color is that Sundrop. I'm like, all right, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens if I put these two together. But you're right, I'm mostly a neutral gal. That is not my go-to normally. But it worked.
And we ended up balancing you out with a purple on purple version for our sample.
Yeah, that's true. That looked really pretty.
I really like that. And I really like the fit. I tried this one on when it came in and when we got it, and it went in the pile of things for photography because, I've had this since February. So there's a long lead time on this for many reasons. But so, yeah, it just kind of went in the pile. And then I was getting ready for sample it Tuesday night. I was like, well, I'm going to wear the purple one. And it was the first time I'd even tried it on. And I was like, oh, this fits really well. So I really like it. Yeah. So I had a lot of people ask me, how do you get the switch transition? Without giving away too much of the pattern.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a little bit of an art form there, and it was purposeful. Kind of form and function. Wanted to play. I love playing around with color work that is kind of unassuming. So that sweater, while it looks fancy, it's stockinette pretty much the whole way. Like it's a really fun way to do stockinette. You don't get bored with it because it's called the Marled Me sweater because there's marled bits of color in there. But it plays with the foreground and the background of marling. And of course, you don't have to do that. You could do the whole thing with the background one color and the foreground the one color. But I also was trying to think of the knitter and balance out yarn. So one, being able to kind of play with the creativity of the color changes, and two, also have a little bit more variance in being able to order, like I'm thinking of your orders, being able to, instead of ordering like 5 of one color and only 2 of another and then have a bunch left over, I was trying to really utilize the yarn as much as possible.
Yeah, so we make little cards for the samples, and all of the sizes, except for one, need equal parts of yarn. There's that 40 to 44 range that needs a little bit more of one of the colors. So yeah, you do need 3 and 2 there. But yeah, it's only 4 skeins of yarn. So.
And that's for the short sleeved. If you wanted to make it longer, like do the longer sleeves, you would need a little bit more, but it is written for the short sleeve, kind of another good transition piece. So
yeah. So yeah, it was I love that you keep in mind how we're actually going to sell yarn for it.
To the support, like being able to not only support the knitter, and I can't tell you how many times I've had knitters bring me something like a pattern, yarn, whatever project, and like throw it at me and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this means. I don't know. And I've seen a lot of frustration out of knitters with this craft that they love so much. And so it's kind of my goal to make patterns that will make people feel happy, that will take away the frustration, that will take away any sort of intimidation too. And so it'll make them feel good and encouraged to keep going.
Yeah, I was looking at a pattern the other day and it's got a bunch of colors in it. And none of the colors need more than like a quarter of a skein, which
I mean, if
that's
you
just,
want a
it's
bunch of
just,
nuggets left over.
yeah, that's frustrating, especially trying to put together kits for something like that. It just increases the price point and then you have a ton of leftover. So I love that you take into account, the knitter in that way. And then, like I said, it makes it easier for us to make kits for projects.
Thanks. Well, and your color choices, it's like there's so many fun colors to choose from.
And then, so you really fall into our philosophy in our samples of we like to display samples in the booth that look way more complicated than they are, which falls in really well with your designs. You like to keep things simple, but also beautiful and make them look more complicated than they are. Can you talk a little bit about the detail on the olive and oak that you're wearing and how you're kind of tricking people there?
Yeah, the faux cables and the structure is different too. So the Marled Me, the one you're wearing, is a top-down raglan, and this one is a bottom-up with no seaming, however, because you do a 3-needle bind off at the top, which is really kind of nice. But yeah, it's a faux cable with just little details that fall in certain places to be very flattering. And I've worn this one a lot. I need to maybe do a little cinch there. And it's traveled. This is one of my traveling pieces. It's been all over and it's been quite a few years. I also did a nice little, instead of doing the pickup, because I know that can be frustrating too, to do like the pickup knit around and do the center double decrease in order to get like that V-neck collar. I did a different kind of design on this edging. So there's no pickup needed. And that makes it really easy too. There's nothing worse than finishing a project and getting it all done and then being like, oh my gosh, I have to pick up for the neckline or whatever it is. Like I have to add that one more little thing. It's like, no, it's off the needles, block it, wear it, you're good to go.
Yeah, for sure. I like that is your design philosophy, making things look more complicated than they are. There's no reason to, I mean, obviously there are lots of knitters and crocheters out there who are looking for that challenge. But yeah, it's nice to give them an option to just do something pretty simple that looks way harder than it is.
Well, and also if you think about just daily life, I mean, when I am done with work, there's a show on and it's usually like some smutty show for me, like 90 Day Fiance or something on Bravo. But I want to be able to relax. And like you said, there's something very, very important about the pieces that really stretch you and grow you. But I think you can still get that from my patterns too, because they kind of show things in a new and different way. That being said, you'll still find a lot of like palette cleansing, potato chip moments out of it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's change gears a little. Let's do some of our rapid fire questions as we wrap up here. How many whips do you currently have right now?
Oh my gosh. I think 4 or 5, and then a design like already sketched out to do another. Yeah.
Yeah, how many are you kind of monogamous with the design? Like you get one done and then move on to the next thing?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on timeline for something, like if I have to have it done by a certain time, but I like having multiple projects at once. I find it very good for the brain, for the hands too. And then sometimes I just get bored working on the same thing over and over. It's like I just want the stimulation of it. So
yeah. I think you already answered this, but neutrals or bright colors?
Neutrals. But I'm getting better. I really am. Now it's like I mostly wear neutrals, so I'll have like black pants and a gray top and then a bright shawl or a cowl or something. So I'm getting better.
I mean, that's a great point. It's something I teach in my color classes. If your wardrobe is very neutral, if you make some bright, colorful accessories, it's going to go with everything in your wardrobe.
That's true. And it's fun too, because you can like play with your personality and play with your feeling at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Your favorite vacation spot?
I'm a cold weather person. Put me in the mountains, like hiking, skiing. Yeah. The colder, the better. I can wear my nets.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes. The sun and I call me vampire. I don't care. The sun and I don't get along. We're not.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Sorry. I know you're cats.
Coffee or tea? Sweet or savory?
Savory, 100%.
Okay.
Actually, my husband and I will even do like dessert fries, which are just French fries, but we eat them after dinner. So they're called dessert fries.
That's awesome. I've never heard that.
I think the most outlandish we've done is dessert sushi, but there have been dessert burgers and dessert nachos. But yeah, savory for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then what are you currently either watching or reading?
I am, I kind of mentioned it. I always have like a 90-Day Fiance on my DVR to pull up at any moment. But to really, I always turn to Friends if I just need something easy to watch or like, 3 a.m. can't go back to sleep. Friends is what does it for me. And then reading, I'm a polygamous reader too. Right now I have a book on meditation and another one on the posture of yoga. So I'm all over the place. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, anything else we should let our podcast viewers know about Jill?
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the community and the fact that we all can come together and be connected, even if we don't know each other, over this craft. That's so cool. And reach out anytime. I love being able to talk to people too, whether it's just through email or message me through my website or whatever. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. And I will attest, Jill is very kind, very sweet, very easy to connect with. So you and I hit it off really quickly.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the great yarn.
You're welcome. May have some new ones to send you here pretty soon. The fun of H&H, checking out all the new products and all the new stuff. I may have left there wanting to release 4 new yarns, which is a lot and won't happen.
Right at once, but
Right, not at once.
For it.
Yeah, lots of fun things that came home with me. So
Cool.
Who knows where they go. All right, Jill, thank you for time. Thank you for reaching out. And thank you for being one of our favorite designers.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of upcoming projects with you. You're going to be doing a sock for us in October. So that'll be launching. And is that all we have on the calendar for the rest of the year?
Right now, yeah. Because then October is a big fun month. And there will be some classes with that too, which will
Yeah,
be...
so you're going to teach some online sock classes, right?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Jill. It was so good to see you. Thanks for
You too.
joining me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.